Check. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the faculty recognition event. I'm Padma Thomandram. I handle marketing at the Office of Alumni and Corporate Relations, and I'm glad to be your host for this evening. Let us begin this evening's program with an invocation. I request all of us to rise up for the Tamil Thai Varthu, followed by Vande Mataram.
கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்தை கெழிலொழுகும் சீராரும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் மதில் சிறந்த திராவிடனல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரிதனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போல் அனைத்துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறம்பியந்து செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே வாழ்த்துதுமே. வந்தே மாதரம் வந்தே மாதரம் சுஜலாம் சுஃபலாம் மலயஜ சீதலாம் சஸ்யஸ்யாமலாம் மாதரம் வந்தே மாதரம் शुभ्रज्योत्स्नां पुलकितयामिनीं फुल्लकुसुमितद्रुमदलशोभिनीं सुहासिनीं सुमधुरभाषिनीं सुखदां वरदां मातरं वन्दे मातरं वन्दे मातरम्.
Please be seated. The director is here. Wonderful. Can you please put your hands together? Welcome our director. So please join us on the dais. I also invite our chief guest for the evening, our director, Professor Mahesh Panchagnulla, and Mr. Kaviraj Nair to please come to the dais and be seated on the dais. I would now like to invite Mr. Kaviraj Nair, Chief Executive Officer from the Office of Institutional Advancement of IIT Madras, to deliver the welcome address.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the event this evening. I feel extremely grateful to all of you, and it feels so wonderful to be here with so many of the professors in this auditorium. My job is obviously to welcome you all. May I take this opportunity to welcome our chief guest, Mr. Krishnan IAS, Additional Chief Secretary to the Government of Tamil Nadu in the Industries Department, for attending the event and gracing the occasion. Our Director, Professor Kamakoti, and our Dean, Professor Mahesh Panchagnulla, Dean for Alumni and Corporate Relations, and of course, all the esteemed professors and the faculty members and their families who are present here, and my colleagues from the office and all other attendees of the event this evening. A very warm welcome to you all. Thank you. And just to brief you, I will take maybe a couple of minutes to give you a background of this event. Obviously, as you know, this objective of this event is to recognize and celebrate our faculty members who are not only conducting pioneering research, but also influencing and improving society as we know it. Research has always been a cornerstone of academia, a beacon of light that pushes the boundaries of our understanding and breaks the limits of human knowledge. However, the faculty members whom we celebrate tonight have done more than just contribute to their respective fields. They have embodied the ethos of knowledge for good. They have shown us that research is not just about discovery, it's about impact. The faculty we honor tonight have leverage their expertise, their insights, their tireless hours of work to not only delve into the intricacies of their research, but to direct those findings towards societal betterment. Their projects are vast and varied, ranging from sustainable technologies to health equity, from bridging digital divides to mitigating climate change effects, and from poverty alleviation to fostering inclusive education. These researchers, these faculty members, these professors have used their academic prowess as a catalyst for social change. Their work has reached out from the hallowed halls of our institution and touched the world, proving that we can make a significant difference in the society, that knowledge can lead to understanding, understanding to action, and action to transformative change. They have shown us that universities can be more than centers of learning. They are incubators for progress, engines of innovation, and bastions of societal development. They have proven that when we combine scholarly excellence with a vision for a better future, we can catalyze profound and enduring impact. To these professors, we owe our deepest gratitude, not just for the work they have done, but for the example they have set. They have lit the path for future generations, showing them that research can be a tool for societal change. They have proven that the pursuit of knowledge is not an end in itself, but a means to enhance the world we live in. As we celebrate their achievements today, let's all strive to continue making meaningful contributions to society through our work, following the path they have so bravely charted. Let us commit to embodying the ideals of knowledge for good in all our pursuits. Thank you, dear professors, for demonstrating what it truly means to be a scholar and an agent of change. Thank you for inspiring us with your dedication, your resilience, and your unwavering belief in the power of research to make a difference. Your work exemplifies the best of academia, and you serve as a testament to the profound impact that research can have on society. You're truly a beacon of inspiration for all of us. Thank you very much, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this evening's event.
Thank you, Kaviraj, for that warm welcome address. We have a short 1-minute clip to play to you to just talk about the kind of CSR work that we've been doing at IIT Madras. It's just a 1-minute clip to help set the context for today. You can give yourselves a bigger round of applause for the work that you saw up there. Please join me in warmly welcoming Professor Mahesh Panchagnula, Dean, Alumni and Corporate Relations at IIT Madras, to deliver the introductory address.
Good evening and a warm welcome to all of you to this first of a kind sort of an event. We have not done this kind of an event where we collectively come together to sort of felicitate those among us who have gone above and beyond the call of duty. each of us, when we got employed at IIT Madras, we got this nice offer letter, nice government format that said, thou shalt teach, thou shalt do good research, and thou shalt be available for students when required. That sort of summarizes at least the offer letter that I remember from my 2010 interview process. But nobody said, thou shalt, make an impact societally. And that's something that comes out of our inner urge. Those of us that are gathered here today have clearly gone, as Kavi said, above and beyond the call of duty to really take what we have developed, to take what we have learned all the way to the last mile and make a difference. Whether it is a new way to manage a whole village holistically or develop new kinds of quantum computers, which will impact the way we compute in the near future. CSR has enabled amazing new directions for our faculty members. You saw the numbers in the video that just played. But what was not implied in the video in true light is the history of how we got here. I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about how is it that IIT Madras has been able to make that sort of a little montage. Back in 2014, when CSR as an act was taking shape, really very few institutions in the country knew what it was going to shape up to be. There were a whole range of NGOs that were operating at that point that already had a good view of what philanthropy can do for them. But there was really nobody that would go beyond that to say, can it really make a difference to a technology institution like IIT Madras? So our foray into CSR, I must say, was somewhat fortuitous, and our foray was among the first. Our foray started incidentally with conversations with one of our alumni who we recognize right here, Mr. T.T. Jagannathan. When Sujata visited him in his office in Bangalore right around that time frame, thank you. He was very keen to support work at that time in Sujata's lab, and he has since been a strong supporter of her work in many different ways. He sort of brought out an angle that Professor Nagarajan at that time had not imagined. He said, I can give some bit of money from my personal philanthropy, but can I also direct my company CSR? That was the very first time I remember Professor Nagarajan hearing the word CSR. So he comes, obviously the answer right there was yes. I mean, we never say no. And then we come back and read up on what the heck is this CSR? And I think I must credit Professor Nagarajan for thinking beyond TTJ and thinking up the potential of what it could do for an institution like IIT Madras. 2% of every company's net profit needs to be directed towards a tiny list of 8 causes. One of the 8 is research at IITs leading towards impact as measured by the UN Sustainable Development Goals. It cannot get any more specific than that. And that 2% today stands at about 32,000 crores, of which we raised, you saw the number there, 10 power 5 versus 10 power 2. So the potential, even standing here today, is phenomenal. Don't ever complain that DST or DBT doesn't have enough money. CSR has 32,000 crores if you can only make the claim for it. Starting with that first project from TTK Prestige, we've now worked with over 150 partners at many different scales. A few years ago, we had an opportunity to compile all of that into this little coffee table book. It's called Technology for Social Impact. You can take a look at this at the end. I want to close with just one comment. This book was curated. We had given this as a project to a company called AICL Communications Limited. It was a turnkey project where they were supposed to go talk to each faculty member, create a story around it, take some pictures, make this nice coffee table book, and then print several copies for us to send to either the donors and other people who can influence this process. The owner of the company happened to read the book at the end of the whole process. He was so impressed. The project that we commissioned was about 11 lakhs. He gave about 20 lakhs of his CSR to IIT Madras. the impact that he saw in the project clearly talked to him to the point where he came back and supported the Center for Indian Knowledge Systems in the Department of Humanities and Social Studies. So that to me sums up the impact, that some third party who has absolutely no reason to come to us chose to read this book and said, I'll give you my CSR. There cannot be a stronger vote than that. I think that's where we are today. We should build upon it and go to even greater lengths. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Professor Mahesh, for taking us to the roots of where it all began, and more significantly, perhaps, to the enormous opportunities that lie ahead for each one of us as faculty here. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome our esteemed director, Professor V. Kamakoti, to deliver the director's address.
Friends, a very good evening, and welcome to this really a Changemaker event. I think we have not done such an event in the past. It's very apt that we do this year, because we come to know that out of the 32,000 crores which Mahesh was mentioning, close to 20,000 crores are unspent. And the real need, if wherever we go and ask, many companies say that we did have CSR, we did not spend and we deposited back. They said that we are not getting some great proposals which are aligned to the goals of the CSR or the objectives of the CSR. So there are many things that we as an institute can do. We have seen a lot of programs that we can scale. For example, the BS Data Science we have scaled to today touching more than 20,000. Andrew, am I correct? Number of admissions. We have scaled in terms of many other rural interventions that we have done. We have around 180 rural interaction centers completely supported under CSR. We have done a lot of very interesting projects, as you could have seen in this book, the coffee table book that Mahesh just showed you. I think now, with the very clear sustainable development goals that have been put up by the United Nations, and that we have now multiple clear orientations in terms of interdisciplinary work that we do, and many of them intending to become a state-of-the-art technology that could power India as a country. We also have a lot of technologies that could have real social impact. For example, the HomoSep robo that was cleaning septic tanks. I think, and many scalable events that we have started what Indu is doing about carbon net zero challenge, etc. I think we have very nice goals in front of us. It is time that we all put together a set of proposals and which can have social impact, which can direct towards some state-of-the-art research, which can also look at the sustainable development goals. With this in mind, I had actually made a request to every HOD to come out with a 10 crore proposal with touching at least one of these points from each department, and I expect by August 1st, 2023, that is another 10 days from now, these proposals will reach us. And the 15 centers of excellence where we have funded around 15 crores each. We are also looking at 100 crore proposals spread over 4 years, each year 25 crores, a 4-stage proposal. And again, we had given August 1st as a deadline. I had informed the respective coordinators and the HODs fairly sufficiently in advance, around a month earlier. And we strongly believe that these proposals can basically be tapped into the CSR, and we can get a lot of support from the CSR. Friends, CSR gives us an immediate result. It's not like some sponsored research project that we do. Many times you make a report that sits in a drawer of a scientist in the respective ministry, completely unnoticed. But CSR actually gives you, today with the monitoring that the Companies Act has put in place, CSR gives us a very good opportunity to actually change the way of life and actually provide good impact onto the ease of living or the quality of living of many people in our country. Let me give you a couple of examples that I experimented with CSR as early as around 2015 when the CSR Act just came. So my first donor was City Union Bank, from which we got around 1 crore. And what we did was that we went to Tier 3, Tier 4 cities, recruited around 15 people a batch, and into split across 5 batches. So totally 75 students who have completed their BTech, but probably from very poor colleges where they did not have the opportunity to meet a good teacher. From there, we brought them here. We did a 6-month training for each batch, where first 15 days we gave them some orientation here, and then the remaining 4.5 months we put them onto software testing, and both performance testing and functional testing. Very easy to basically train. And then we went to the startups and told, okay, now you can't hire test engineers, they're very costly. Now I give you a set of people who will come and test your software for both performance and functional testing. And many of these companies found out, they were able to find out very trivial bugs in their software, very trivial performance bottlenecks in their software. And all these startups also benefited from that. And over every year we trained around 60 people, and in 3 years, 180 people completely below poverty line from Tier 4 cities, from almost unknown engineering colleges. We were able to train. And friends, I must tell you, out of the 180, 172 actually got placed, right? And each with the average salary of around 40,000 per month, which essentially changed the way of their living. Many times, if you actually go to rural India, they want to do this engineering education, they don't get educational loans easily, because some basic percentage is needed for getting educational loans. So they get the some loans in terms of a higher rate of interest. So they mortgage the land, the agricultural land, and they come to this. And when the degree is not, they don't get the proper education, they don't get a job, they just have the degree certificate, and the land is lost. So this is a very bad state of affairs for many people who just pledge their property to do this education, but unfortunately they don't get education. But they are brilliant. If they had been exposed to a very good training that we offer in higher education institutions like IITs, they would fare much better than what they were. And CSR basically helped us in understanding this particular point and proving this point, right? We took 180 people who did not have a job, struggling to get a job, not even first class, but just because they were not given good training, but we were able to prove that they were intelligent and they could get a good job with an average pay scale. So this is what we call as transformation, and we can do that. Today we have 180 rural interaction centers. Every day between 6 to 8, we interact with the students, a very big volunteer network, and interacts with the student under a mission called Kalvi Shakti. In the first half, again, everything done to CSR. February 2022, when we started 5 centers in 5 villages in Tamil Nadu, one village there was a request that they did not have biology teachers. So we went and organized a biology teacher who can teach in Tamil to that village in particular. It is basically a TV screen with a camera and a zoom in, and they can interact, they can talk. It's a live session. Friends, in just 2 months of training, 2 students from that village scored 91 out of 100 in biology. They were scoring around 20. They were not able to pass. Just 2 months of training. And they got into a good university in biotech. So this is the impact that we could do. Today we have 180 centers. In the last, after we just finished our, the 10th and 12th results were announced, more than 100 calls had come, basically saying how this particular effort has given them a new impetus. There were schools where the pass rate was around 50%. It rose to 90%. Just simple interventions. I think these are some examples of CSR projects that we can take and collectively work. I had made a request to the Department of Mathematics, Chemistry, Physics and Biotech on trying to get state-of-the-art sort of lectures recorded, which goes with every line of our competitive examinations. And then we supplement it with, with regular assignments, and we supplement it with regular, examinations, basically testing the time and accuracy, which is very important from any competitive examination point of view. I think time is not far off where we will get many students from rural India into our BTech programs, clearing our JEE Advanced. I think these are some things that we must aspire. And when we have the responsibility of setting up a very tough question paper, we do have the responsibility of training those people who doesn't have access to good education. As an NIR of one institution, we do have the responsibility to reach and train them. I think that is very, very important. So I had opened up this DESI, this Democratizing Education in Science initiative. And I hope I did get some positive remarks from the HODs that some recordings have been happening. But again, there are also some financial support that is needed. And these are support I want to see from one of the HODs. I want to see from your department. Sanjay, you're here. I don't know whether Maths Vetri is here. Vetri, are you there? No. Guhan? Arun? No. You are the only science today you caught. Okay. I would like to see a proposal from you on DESI. So you said there is a requirement for some funding for that. Please write a proposal. Bring out proposals. Proposal writing is very important because that's the way we express what we can do. And especially proposal writing for CSR is very important because we as an individual or a collective group, we are given an opportunity to tell what we can do for the society, and that's very important. So this year, the first time we saw this list of events, there were 2 slides. I'm very happy, Mahesh, it has grown to 4 slides now. The number of companies are coming here. It should become 8, 16. It should be an exponential growth. And there's a lot of money, so let us not now blame the ministries or the government for money. There is more money to tap, but we must be in a position to write good proposals that will be of social relevance and that will advance the technology for our country. With these words, I hope, I don't know how many HODs are here. I want to make again a reminder that August 1st, please send us these proposals for 10 crores. All the COE heads, please make your 100 crore proposal and send it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kamakoti, for inspiring us to think bigger and pushing us harder, and truly for all those powerful stories of transformation that can happen when CSR can marry the expertise that we all carry. I would now like to invite Ms. Padma Raghavan, Vice President Corporate Partnerships from our office, to introduce our chief guest.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Padma, for giving me the opportunity to introduce our chief guest for the evening, Mr. S. Krishnan. It gives me immense pleasure and honor to welcome and introduce Sir to the evening today. Mr. Krishnan is currently the Additional Chief Secretary, Industries, Investment Promotion and Commerce Department with the Tamil Nadu government. Mr. Krishnan is the 1989 batch of the Indian Administrative Services. He has also been Additional Chief Secretary in the Finance Department and Principal Secretary in the Housing and Urban Development and Special Initiatives Department. He was the founder CEO of the Tamil Nadu Infrastructure Development Board. He has also served as the chairman of the 5th Tamil Nadu State Finance Commission. Mr. Krishnan has served as the senior advisor in the office of the executive director for India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, and Bhutan in the International Monetary Fund, and represented the Government of India in the G20 expert groups of international finance, architecture, and global financial safety nets. With the Government of India, Mr. Krishnan has been Deputy Director of Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration for 4 years from 2000 to 2004 and Private Secretary to the Union Finance Minister. Mr. Krishnan was District Collector of Virudhunagar District, where he had calmed a volatile situation and ensured implementation of development programs in a 3-year tenure. He was also a Deputy Secretary Budget in Finance Department for 4 years. It's an honor to have you, sir, with us in the evening. Now I would like to request Mr. Krishnan to deliver the special address. Thank you so much, everyone. Please put your hands together.
Thank you, ma'am, for the very kind introduction to this very eminent gathering. And fortunately, IIt Madras is an institution which I didn't go to. I guess it's just one of the choices one makes in life, but an institution that one has visited over the years, including schools on your campus and various other things over the last more than 40 years. And what is exceptional is the kind of community that has been built here in terms of the relationship with the rest of society, the rest of community, and the way in which the institution engages with changing society around it and interacting with it. I think that is truly exceptional. So the fact that in the NIRF ratings you always rate number 1 is not surprising at all, because the initiatives go well beyond, as Professor Mahesh was telling us, teaching students, doing your research, and being available for students. I think it goes well beyond that. More than that, I think it's also a very interesting reflection. I'm just one of about 300 civil servants in Tamil Nadu, but over the years I've interacted with so many of your faculty who are present here and some of whom who are not present here. So I'm myself surprised, in the sense that there have been so many areas of activity that they've all been involved in directly, and so generously and so munificently giving their time for something which is in the larger public interest, contributing to society at large in multiple ways. And even when I went through that, the book, the coffee table book on the kind of work that's been done through CSR and other efforts in IIT Madras, I was pleasantly surprised to find at least 2 or 3 of those initiatives which had participated in some form or the other. So it's truly remarkable that all of this is coming together so well, and the faculty who are doing all of this are justly and correctly recognized. So let me first compliment the director, Professor Kamakoti, who's extremely dynamic, and again, you end up meeting him on a variety of stages, and what I'm always fascinated by is the different take he has on different situations and the different manners in which he's able to express a refreshing set of new ideas on each occasion. And Professor Mahesh Panchagnala, Mr. Kaviraj Nair, who's the Chief Executive of the Office of Institutional Advancement, faculty members, and I suspect some members of family as well, who are here to see them receive the awards. So I think it's one of the more pleasant events that I have honestly attended in the IIT campus, and I think it's a wonderful occasion to be back here in this particular auditorium. I recollect at least 3 or 4 events that I've attended here, and to be amongst you when we are celebrating the faculty themselves, and I think that's significant and very, very important. That's what keeps this institute alive in terms of what it does and the huge potential that it has. I recall a recent meeting where we were despairing how, in spite of being at the top of the ratings among students who opt to come to IIT Madras, it still kind of drops down a bit, because that's not the fault of the institute, that's the fault of the city, that's the fault of all of us in the government, that we are not able to make it a more attractive place for younger students to come and attend this particular institution. But of course, you've had a very, very eminent alumni in addition to having extremely eminent faculty. Equally, I think the important missions where you have assisted, whether it is things related to environment, whether it is things relating to renewable energy, whether it is things relating or initiatives relating to inclusion, greater inclusion in terms of persons with disability, all of these have become huge impact-making moves, which ultimately then also get scaled up significantly. And IIT Madras Research Park today, I think, is an object of envy across the country. Practically everybody who's brought to India from overseas and is looking at industry, academia, collaboration, who's looking for where there is innovation and what is happening, they're sort of brought there and shown this as an example. We intend to pick it up, hopefully, as an example and replicate it across the state in at least 2 or 3 locations, and we are in close contact to see how this could be done in the days to come. The model of research that you follow is, again, an example and an inspiration for us when we wrote our research and development policy for the state in terms of what could be done. And Professor Kamakoti would recollect that we had come and discussed some of those ideas with you at that stage to see how we can actually foster more research, which is bringing in industry involvement and bringing in significantly greater, the economy of the future, literally, which is based on innovation. I think Tamil Nadu is an interesting state. You made the point already, saying that there are a large number of people with qualifications. We don't know of what quality, but still, the point is, it's an aspirational state where everyone wants an engineering degree. What they will do with it is a separate issue. But we need to meet these aspirations. I think the objective of the political economy is to make sure that many of these aspirations are met, and which means that we need higher-end value-added jobs in precisely the kind of areas and sectors that that require research to happen, that require innovation to happen. And in more ways than one, a lot of it has been spawned from around this campus. We cannot forget that, IIT Madras, next to it, IIT Research Park, next to that, the Tidal Park, and that led to the entire development along the old Mahabalipuram road. We may like it, we may not like it, but the point is that many of the higher-end jobs in the state are now offered in many of these corridors of this kind, and your role in that has been significant. And research in that sense becomes significant to the number of, just about every pitch that we make to investors who want to invest in this state, we speak about the quality of the human resources, we speak of the quality of the institutions, and IIT Madras, of course, is the one that is mentioned immediately and first. Even this morning, there were a couple of discussions with a Japanese company and a European company to whom this is the pitch we were making, and IIT Madras comes up as the institution which reflects what Tamil Nadu is capable of, what the state offers in terms of quality human resources. So that is a cutting edge kind of advantage that IIT has offered to the state, and for which we are extremely grateful, which we've also reflected in multiple ways in which the state government has interacted with the institute over the years. But at the same time, what we recognize, and especially now, is the desire for democratization and inclusion in the way that IIT seeks to manage access to its resources. I have been a part of discussions where for the new BS courses, a much more open mechanism of admission, using technology to make sure that a large number of students have access to the content and have access to the high quality faculty that IIT Madras has, and eventually to make sure that all of them can aspire to higher quality of learning. And I think these are very, very significant and path-breaking moves. The fact that you have the first overseas campus of an IIT spawned out of IIT Madras, again, is a truly remarkable development, which I think is quite amazing. Likewise, the fact that you're prepared to actually run a medical degree out of what is fundamentally a technological or an institutional, technological or an engineering institution. But there again, recognizing that so much of work nowadays is interdisciplinary, that so many of these barriers between disciplines need to break down. And, at a time and an age where we are kind of specializing and splitting universities into, which are by definition supposed to be universal, we would like to make them, there was you make an agriculture university first. From the agriculture university, you make a veterinary sciences university. From the veterinary sciences university, you make a fisheries university. And then probably, we'll have one for poultry and one for something else. But, it's no longer a university, right? I mean, it doesn't make sense. And from that example to an institution which is trying to foster a variety of newer disciplines and bringing greater universality and greater interdisciplinary approach to this is something that IIT Madras has pioneered. You have a strong humanities department. I think that imbues your students with a sense of values and a sense of what it means to give back to society. And likewise, the foray into medical sciences and a foray into management sciences, and each of these has great relevance to the way that your alumni actually respond to challenges of society and respond to challenges of the country. So this message, and likewise, the fact that you have such inspiring faculty who are able to take part in this. So I think it's not a day too soon, and I am a little surprised that this is the first event of this nature which is being organized where the institute itself is recognizing its faculty members for participation in work which is beyond, above and beyond what they are normally required to do. I'm saying it just vouches for the quality and the innate motivation of many of your faculty that they've been doing this for years without recognition. And many of them have earned repute across the world. Many of them have earned repute across the country and widely recognized as experts in their area and also contributing to societal outcomes at large. So all of this, I think, makes for a wonderful educational environment, a wonderful atmosphere in which I'm sure your students would be singularly fortunate to go through this experience to actually benefit and prosper from it. So one of the things which I will definitely mention on my CV, and one of the things which I will do with some delight and pride, will be that at least, amongst the educational institutions where I've lectured at, and there aren't many, IIT Madras is one of them, where I've been called to speak to bunches of students once in a while by some of your faculty members. But it's, I think, quite a remarkable way in which this institution has done us proud. There is a huge CSR that you can do for the rest of the state as an institution, which is to imbue some of this quality into some of the other educational institutions that we have. what you outlined just now in terms of what you could do with the employability of some of the students is truly the kind of work that would benefit a number of the other institutions across the state. And with the same spirit of generosity and magnanimity, I'm sure your faculty would be able to give us their ideas, their time, their effort into actually raising quality of not just education, but employability and a whole host of, and public spiritedness amongst a range of educational institutions across the state. So that clearly, I mean, if we are a society which has to eventually move towards innovation, value-added jobs and the upper-end jobs, IIT Madras will really lead the way as far as Tamil Nadu is concerned. And in that light, today's event is going to be a significant milestone, I'm sure. Once again, my congratulations to each of the faculty members who's being recognized today and awarded. It's been truly remarkable work, and if there is one association I really cherish, it's my association with many of you and many of the internal institutions of IIT Madras. It's truly a matter of pride, and it's been a real privilege for me. Thank you very much for having me this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your kind and thought-provoking words, Mr. Krishnan. Yes, truly, we do have a society-centric ethos, and we also take much pride in that. It's an honor to have you, sir. I now request our director and dean to honor Mr. Krishnan with a shawl and memento. Thank you. I would also request our team to bring the memento for our director. And we have a small surprise for our dean as well. So request our chief guest to please honor our director and in the presence of Professor Mahesh and Mr. Kaviraj. Professor, if you can join the picture as well. And request Mr. Krishnan to hand over this small token to our Dean, Alumni and Corporate Relations, Professor Mahesh. Thank you. We have now come to the main part of the program, the felicitation ceremony, to recognize our faculty at IIT Madras as CSR Changemakers for going the extra mile, for collaborating on corporate social responsibility projects and creating technology-driven impact for social good in the true spirit of IITM for all. So what we're going to do now is, it will be in alphabetical order, so we request all the faculty members to come up from the right side of the stage, and then you could collect your memento and proceed down the left side, right? So I'll start calling out the names. So just a request to us to expedite, since we're doing it in alphabetical order, would request the professors to start coming forward as and when the names are called and you know that your name will be lined up next. Alphabetical order of the first name, right? So may we have, please, Professor Abhijit Deshpande to the stage. in honor and appreciation of his work under RUTAG and integrated pottery development. Professor Aditya Kolachana, in honor and appreciation of his work in the area of mathematical and astronomical traditions. Can we please put our hands together? Professor, you can come this way. Yes, please. Professor Aditya. We next have Professor Andrew Thangaraj. For the picture, if you can put the corresponding slide at the background. So Professor Andrew Thangaraj, can we have the previous slide, please? The previous slide to that. Yes. In appreciation of his CSR projects across the areas of education. Professor, please stay for a moment because we are also honoring you for the position that you are currently holding. That's as head of the Center for NPTEL, because we've done a number of CSR projects over the years, and since he's currently occupying the position of head of the Center NPTEL, we'd like to honor him with this award. Professor Anil Prabhakar. Professor Anil Prabhakar for his quantum leaps in the area of CSR and various work across disability and access switches, amongst others. Professor Arvind Kumar Chandran. And Professor Arul Lakshmi Narayanan, please come forward. Professor Arvind Kumar Chandran for his work across hydrogen, energy, EV batteries. Professor Arul, he's not coming today. He's not coming. We can go to the next person. Professor Arun Kumar Tittai. Can we also have Professor Ashokan come forward, please? Professor Arun Kumar Tittai receives a memento for his state-of-the-art ultrasound scanner for maternal and child health. Professor Ashokan, he receives a memento for his robotics research and technology laboratory. Professor Balaji Narasimhan, please. Can we also have Professor Bobby George and Professor Geeta Krishnan come forward, please? So Professor Balaji Narasimhan is being honored for his work across integrated urban governance as well as watershed restoration work for sustainability. Professor Bobby George for advanced electronics manufacturing and skills development. We thank you for your work. Can we have Professor Himanshu please come forward and be seated in the front row, as well as Professor Indumati Nambi, please, who will follow. Professor Geeta Krishnan on the dais receiving his memento. This is Professor Geeta Krishnan. No, you're in J. You have to go back to G. For his work across public safety. Professor Himanshu, being honored for his work across biological big data analysis. Thank you. Professor Indumati, for her work across lake restoration, carbon zero challenge, and environmental pollution mitigation, amongst others. Can we have Professor Jayaganthan, please, come forward? For his work in the battery management system. The next recipient is already with us on the dais, Professor Kamakoti. Professor Kavita Arunachalam, please come forward. So Professor Kamakoti, in his capacity as a professor, has been able to execute very many projects under CSR, cybersecurity, Pravartak, elder care, amongst others. Professor Kodandaraman, please come forward. Professor Liji Philip, after Professor Kodandaraman. We now have Professor Kavita Arunachalam on stage. She's being honored for her work across thermal therapy, microwave hypothermia, and breast cancer detection. Professor Kodandaraman. Professor Kodandaraman is being honored for his zinc carbon and zinc based alkaline battery conversion. Professor Liji. For her impactful work across Nagapatnam village, sustainable waste management, community awareness, waste water management, and other projects. Professor Mahalingam. May I also request Professor Manu Santanam to come forward, as well as Professor Mitesh Khapra. So the next recipient again is already with us on stage, Professor Mahesh Panchagnula. So may we request the other dignitaries on the dais to honor Professor Mahesh. Professor Mahesh is being honored for his work across the Vijay Lakshmi Scholarship, the Energy Assessment Center, and Environment Sustainable Development. Professor Manu Santanam, please come forward. Professor Manu for his work of construction of an affordable multi-story apartment using 3D printing. So Professor Manu, we'd also like to honor you with the Dean ICSR memento, in recognition of the support we've received across deans of ICSR over the years for CSR. As a current occupant, he is receiving it on everyone's behalf. Thank you, thank you. Professor Mitesh, can we have Professor Mukesh Doble, followed by Professor Murali and Professor Nandan Sudarsanam. Professor Murali and Dr. Ravi together. Dr. Raju, sorry. This is Professor Mukesh Doble being honored for his work across E. coli in drinking water supply. And creating potable water. Professor Murali, being honored for evaluation of startups, a CSR project, together with Dr. Raju. Professor Murali, please stay with us on stage. We have another award for the Dean faculty. These are the various projects with which we have collaborated with them in the past. Professor Nandan Sudarshanam. Can we also have Professor Piyush? Professor Nandan is being honored for his work in mitigating client-centric fraud in BFSI sector through AI. Could we have Professor Prabhu Rajagopal following Professor Piyush, please? Professor Piyush being honored for his work in rural schools in the area of STEM, setting up labs and device engineering opportunities for government school children. Professor Pradeep, could you please come forward to, following Professor Pradeep, we will have Professor Prabha. Professor Prabhu is being honored for his work across septic tank cleaning using robotics, automation, R&D innovation, amongst others. Professor Pradeep. KG Pradeep. Can we have Professor KG Pradeep if you're here? So Professor Pradeep, for extensive work across water projects all over India. Can we have Professor Prabha, please? Following Professor Prabha, we will have Professor Radha Krishna Ganti and Professor Raghavendra Sai, please, to come forward, and Professor Raghuram Chetty. Professor Prabha is being honored for her work undertaken in Emphasis Quantum Center for Computing. Professor Radha Krishna Ganti for his CSR work undertaken across 5G network. Can we have Professor Raghavendra Sai? Thank you for your work in the area of development of urine-based TB diagnosis screening kit. Professor Raghuram Chetty. Can we have Professor Rajesh Kumar, Professor Ratna Kumar, and Professor Rupashri please come forward in that order. Professor Raghuram is being honored for his development of a 250-watt compact polymer electrolyte membrane fuel cell stack. Professor Rajesh Kumar, please. For his work in the area of language proficiency, especially with slum and rural school children. Professor Ratna Kumar. We appreciate you for your work in the development of contact models for DEM simulations and mechanics of crushable non-spherical granular assembly. Oh, that's quite a long. Okay. Professor Rupashri, please come forward. We honor you, Professor, for your work in holistic education. Can we have Professor Saji Matthew, Professor Sarathi, and Professor Saravana Kumar, please? followed by Professor Satyanarayan Seshadri and Professor Shankar Krishna Pillai. Professor Saji is being honored for enhancing the profitability and growth of micro and marginal enterprises run by women. Professor Sarathi for his extensive work under CSR on reaching out to rural areas with STEM education. Can we have Professor Saravana Kumar, followed by Satya Seshadri Prof. Professor Saravana Kumar, we honor you for your work on research donation. Professor Satya Seshadri. We appreciate you for your work across environment, energy, sustainable development, amongst others. Professor Shankar Krishna Pillai. Can we have Professor Shankar Ram and Shivnagendra Professor and Professor Smita Srivatsava please come forward. Professor Shankar Krishna Pillai is being honored for his design and development of various projects including agricultural transport system and wind turbines for rural applications. Professor Shankar Ram, please. He's being honored for his work in battery management system as Professor Shivnagendra, please. Professor Shivnagendra is honored for his work in air purification under CSR. Over to Professor Smita Srivatsava for her work across CSR projects, including research on marine resources, sustainability, capacity building for bioincubator, plant and tissue culture, amongst others. Can we have Professor Saurav Rakshit, please? And followed by Professor Suresh Kumar Raela and Professor Tain Muri and Professor Tillai Rajan. Professor Saurav Rakshit is being honored for his design and development of sit-to-stand mobility aids as well as design of injury patients. Professor Suresh Kumar Raela, we honor you for your work in cancer nanomedicine development. Professor Tain Muri, we honor you for your work in the IITM FinTech Innovation Lab. Professor Tillai Rajan. Professor G. Venkat Ratnam. Hello, Professor Tillai Rajan is being honored for his work across innovation, venturing and entrepreneurship in India network. Professor Venkatratnam. Oh yes, Professor Venkatratnam is being honored for establishment of a lab for testing the flammability of alternative refrigerants. Professor Venkatesh Balasubramaniam. Professor Venkatesh is being honored for his project outlook on road safety. Professor Vijay Lakshmi, can we have you? Followed by Professor David Koil Pillai and Professor Sujata Srinivasan. Professor Vijay Lakshmi is being honored for creating a ripple effect in youth's development through holistic education. Professor David Koil Pillai for installation of 2 megawatt rooftop solar panel. Professor Sujata Srinivasan for her extensive work done across accessibility, mobility, R2D2, all the innovation. Professor Mohan Shankar, please, can we have you? Followed by Professor Lakshmi Narasimha. Can we also have Professor Neerav Bhatt, please, in the front? Professor Mohan Shankar for extensive work done across CSR. Can we have a louder round of applause, please? We couldn't fit it all into one slide. So Professor Lakshmi Narasimha for her work done across villages, battery engineering, amongst others. Professor Neerav Bhatt and Professor Murthy, please. Professor Nagendra Krishnapura. Professor Murthy is here. Could you please come forward? After Professor Nagendra, we will have Professor Raghavan and Professor Krishnamurthy. Professor Murthy is being honored for sustainable waste management and work across village adoption, water and waste management, amongst other projects. Professor Nagendra Krishnapura, we honor you for your work in analog mixed signal VLSI research. Professor Raghavan, Professor Krishnamurthy, and Professor Bhargava Rama Chilukuri. Can we have you please come forward? Professor Raghavan is now being honored for establishment of a lab for testing flammability of alternative refrigerants. Professor Krishnamurthy. No, that's not Krishnamurthy. Okay. This is Professor Bhargava. No problem. Professor okay, fine, we've got that. Professor Krishnamurthy is being honored for TCS-sponsored IIt Madras Computer Science and Engineering Colloquium Series. Professor Bhargava. Professor Bhargava is being honored for his work in the area of enhanced traffic mobility using signal improvements. Professor Fanishri Pradeep Pratapa, you're here.
This list was compiled based on registration outside. If somebody is here that was invited but didn't get a chance to come here, can you please? Maybe we'll come back to you to your departments to honor. Yeah. Okay. Please come. The problem is in that a large number of faculty, all of them were invited, only a fraction responded and a smaller fraction have showed up, so we're trying to manage that.
So Professor Satyanarayanan Gumadi, please, yeah. Okay. Professor Vignesh, Professor Krishnan Balasubramanian, Professor Lakshmana Rao, Professor Vani Janaki Raman, that's Professor Vani receiving the memento. Professor Satyanarayana Gumadi from Biotechnology Department is being honored for his work in CSR. Professor Vignesh Muthuvijayan, please come. Professor Krishnan Balasubramaniam. Okay, Professor Krishnan Balasubramaniam and Professor Vignesh. Professor Lakshmana Rao, Krishna Balakrishnan, Professor Arun Kumar, Professor Benny Raphael, they've all got.
Is Professor P.L. Shivakumar here? Shivakumar, kar liya.
Professor Jagdish Kumar. Professor Nitin Chandrachud, can you please come forward? Thank you very much, everyone. We now okay. Right. Thank you, everyone. We'd now like to invite some of our faculty members to share their experiences of collaborating under CSR. Can we have Professor Liji Philip come forward, please? So in completely random order, I'd like to invite Professor Smita to speak after Professor Liji, followed by Professor Satya Seshadri, Professor Piyush, and Professor Prabhu Rajagopal. Over to you, Professor.
Good evening. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Kama, Professor Mahesh, and the entire ACR team for organizing this wonderful event. And I also thank Mr. Krishnan for gracing this occasion. Yeah, I want to share the experience. Okay, when the first CSR event took place in IIt Madras in 2014. Okay, when they invited around 30 plus industries. Okay, we also made a 5 minutes presentation about what we can do. Okay, as a CSR activity. Okay, both Professor B.S. Murthy and I made the presentation on integrated village development and sustainable water and waste management, and we were one of the groups selected in the first event itself. So we started our CSR activity in 2014 itself, okay, starting in Vichur village near Chennai. So it was a great experience for us because the marginalized or underprivileged people lacking the basic amenities of sanitation, water supply, waste management, etc. So we have gone into the village and started working with them and got involved with them and made a difference in the village. So definitely, okay, the smile in the faces of the kids and the ladies in the village or the mothers, okay, that has given us so much of satisfaction. So we thought that instead of stopping there, we will continue our efforts. So from water and sanitation to, we have moved to entire village development, skill development, education, all the things. Now we are working in 10 different panchayats, not only in Tamil Nadu, we are working in Karnataka and other places. Okay, overall development of the things, water resources management, and we also got a center funded by our alumni to take care of this type of activities like AquaMap. So, okay, we got satisfaction, not only that one, these centers or these activities, okay, given an opportunity for us to expose this type of things to our students. Okay, many of our PhD students are doing research in this area, and whatever the research they have done is taken to the villages and all for the betterment of the people. And many of the BTech and interns also are getting involved in this one. And when we teach something in the class, it is not that effective. We could make that when we took the students to the village and show this type of activity, the involvement and the excitement was so much. So I can tell you, 2 of my students are just got into this activity. They are working on some NGOs who is doing water supply, sanitation, and health initiatives. Okay, that is the impact. Okay, because yes, okay, we are in the villages all the weekends, but it gives so much of satisfaction Okay, that is what the CSR is. Okay, thank you very much for all the opportunity.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to thank the Institute leadership before I share my experience with CSR projects for especially Professor Kamakoti, Professor Mahesh, for being the enablers and also as stimulants for such activities in the Institute. Let me share my CSR experience here. I have been PI for 4 small CSR projects. But the best part of CSR, which is very heartening to note, is that it gives a lot of flexibility to the PI, to us as professionals, to do a wide range of activities. Like in one of the projects where I, as a faculty in charge of bioincubator, we have got the CSR not only to develop the equipment infrastructure for promoting entrepreneurial activities, for promoting startups in that area of marine biotechnology. At the same time, we also got CSR for capacity building. Now, what we did, we held workshops for not only startups, but also for industry professionals, also for academicians, especially the tier 2 and 3 cities students who could come here and undergo those hands-on training biomanufacturing workshop here. Now, the other way in which I think CSR benefits is it somehow pushes the PI to think and divert their research goals towards immediate societal benefits. I think it's a push which comes through CSR by which all of us as PIs somehow are encouraged to design projects which can give societal benefits to see. That's one of the big advantage. The other thing which I could realize was that it is a very organic way of developing industrial collaborations as well. Now with CSR, it gives us an opportunity to become aware of the industry bottlenecks through these interactions by improved network with the industry, which can also benefit in designing the right problem statements, in turn making it more impactful for the society. So thank you, Institute, for holding this. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you very much for this recognition and opportunity. I must also thank Professor Mahesh and Kaviraj, because they're almost always looking for how do we support a project. The Kotak IITM Save Energy Mission is one such project which we've been thinking about for more than 4.5 years, and we even instituted a small, I would say, a seed project with whatever support we had. But then now it's grown to such an extent that we have 7 centers across the country, and that too 7 IITs working together. A very good friend of mine from IIT Bombay, now a current director at IIT Delhi, said there are only 2 things IITs know how to work together, which is IIT GATE and JEE. Now I'm proud to say this initiative, which was initially supported through CSR, has now spawned a very good collaboration among faculty. But this collaboration is also for huge societal benefit, because now we work with industries, so many companies, now close to 107 as it counts now, and we're reaching about 300 companies. And the benefit is not just right now, because if the impact that we create through energy efficiency and the kind of capacity building which we do through the exposure to faculty, exposure to professionals, exposure to students, the benefit is multifold. In real rupee terms itself, it's already about 43 crores, and we will reach about 100 crores in the next 2 years. But you can also imagine the continued benefit that it will get. This is an excellent example of multiplication of impact, and I think many of our projects that we talk about, either in energy or in water or in healthcare, where we do foundational work, which can have a huge multiplication effort. And I think that kind of has expanded our view to look at projects in a much, much broader canvas. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and I think this is a great platform that it has enabled us to work together. Thank you.
So good evening to all, and good evening, Mr. Krishnan, and welcome one more time to IIT Madras. I think there are very few, or maybe no institute in India which is celebrating, which is hosting and conducting this type of event, of recognizing the faculty for doing a project of slightly different types under the CSR funding. I doubt there are any such programs going on, across the country. So thank you very much. So I must congratulate Professor Mahesh and his team, and also thank and appreciate for the wonderful job they're doing. They are recognizing us, but I think all the faculty, we all believe, those who are working with the CSR funding, that we also need to extend our gratitude and gratefulness to the ACR office. And this is a very rare of the kind that we see in our country. Actually, having a project concept and then pitching it to the potential donors, convincing them, then running the project, implementing on the field, and then doing the accounts and then writing the report, besides our research and teaching, it's actually not possible, believe me, unless we have such a system like this that we have. So I thank, once again, the office and all the other colleagues of this office who are always there to help support, and most importantly, with a smiling faces. So thank you very much. Now, I'll just quickly talk in a little bit, in 30 seconds, about our project. When IIt Madras actually doesn't believe in working just inside the campus. We go outside the campus, we work with the society, and we work with the people and for the people. And education is one of our priority area. So I myself, along with my other colleagues, work in this education area. This is a small initiative called Teach to Learn that we have started. The primary objective of this is to connect the premier institutes with the rural schools with the different education models. And these education models essentially each model has a core. Some of these are for like communication skill development, some are for critical thinking, some are hands-on learning. Recently, what we are working on, focusing on, and what we believe in is that this culture of making things, we call Make in India programs, which is fantastic, but the culture of making things, I feel, needs to start at the school level. So that is the philosophy that many of us started believing in, and we have actually now established 13 labs just this year, and which are called device engineering labs, and we have a few more to add very soon. Now, these device engineering labs are essentially the devices, very simple devices, starting from the soap dispenser and electric iron and things like that, and gradually going to and making it complicated, like BP meter and mixer, grinder, fan, and things like that. So with all these, we have set up the labs in the rural schools. They are really rural. Now, the idea is twofold. First is to actually give this hands-on learning through these devices. And the second and the most important thing is that to give them the confidence that they can actually build those things by their own through using this additive manufacturing as a tool or as a technology. That is what we are now doing in many of these schools. And we hope and we are optimistic that soon we will be able to convert some of these labs into a hub or a center where actually the school kids are making things right from the beginning, from the design to the fabrication. So that is what we are working on, and we hope that we will be able to set up many such, first in Tamil Nadu, and that will be the motivation and inspiration for the other states to actually also do something in that line. So once again, I thank our ACR office, and the one quick small message to all my younger colleagues. Younger is the wrong word. So the colleagues who have joined very fresh and new, that there is a huge need and requirement outside, and there is a wonderful ambience, supportive ambience here. So maybe see if you can connect these two and enjoy it, because there's a lot of fun going outside the campus and working with something which is not related to your research. That's what I believe in. So once again, thank you very much, and I would like to congratulate once again the ACR office, everybody, for their great support. Thank you.
Good evening, all of you, and thank you, the ACR office, for organizing this event, and also for organizing the CSR infrastructure as a whole. I think as a society, we traditionally have understood charity or dana. I think our understanding is very sophisticated. We understand that charity can also be war, because we think sama, dana, dhanda, beda. These are actually aspects of war. On the other hand, we understand charity in many different domains: vidya dana, jnana dana, kanya dana.
So Annadana. So we understand charity in a holistic framework, and I think the modern representation of Dana as in the form of CSR, I think is a beautiful manifestation. It is helping us connect the munificence arising out of industrial success and plugging it back into something that is relevant to society, where the government or other bodies are not able to actually directly involve themselves. So the experience for me in participating in CSR projects has been, as Professor Smita also mentioned, is to reflect upon our research and how it can find some kind of practical application. So for example, the question that prompted me to get into this very seriously was one of the widows of a sanitation worker asked me in Telugu, of course, sir, మీరు ఐఐటిలో ఉన్నారు, మీరు అణుగుండు ఇవన్నీ డెవలప్ చేస్తున్నారు, మా కోసం ఎందుకు చేయట్లేదు? So that is, you are developing nuclear weapons, you are developing spacecrafts and all that. Can't you develop a robot that can save lives in septic tanks? So I came back and started thinking, I mean, it's a simple question, but the answer was no, we didn't have anything like that at that point of time. So thanks to CSR, we have been able to look at this problem, get funding where it is otherwise very difficult to get funded, because this is not something that is going to yield a Nature paper, for example. It may. We have shown that there is a scientific challenge here in terms of the kind of material that we have to deal with. And over the years, we've been able to develop a solution, now deploy it in about 20 locations across the country. And this thing is still going on. I wouldn't say we have found the solution, but I think what we have managed to do at least is for a community that feels outcasted, that feels that they are the neglects and the discards of the society, to be able to see that the same society is trying to do something for them, trying to empower them, is for them to feel included back into the body of the society. And that is a thought revolution. And I do not kid myself that we will solve this problem, but I think by doing an example of it, we show that even this type of intractable problem can be solved as such. And thanks to CSR also, I've been able to look at delivery and impact in a larger scale, because as Professor Mahesh says, can you think of a 100 crore project, right? Because if you want to make impact in a country as large as India, and some of the CSR partners have also told me, you want to do in 2 locations, don't come to me. You want to do it in 10 cities, you want to do it in 100 locations, come to me. So I think as academics, we are very modest in what we want to do usually, but CSR allows us to break our barriers and look at the large scale, bigger picture. Can we do larger, wider scale impact and delivery? So those were my experiences, and I would conclude again by thanking the CSR office. If the ACR office, if we are the change makers, I think we have CSR warriors among us here. Professor Mahesh, Kaviraj, Ms. Vasudha Narasimhan, the CSR warriors. So, yeah, please. Yeah.
If you're done, I just want to add a couple of things.
So the people whom I am working with, Rajesh, Praveena, Anusha, thank you all. Joe Thomas, I don't know if he is here. Thank you all. You have made a huge difference by your work to our lives here. Thank you.
No, I want to execute my privilege and take the mic for a few minutes. I let you into a little secret behind why we did this event. Kama and I wanted to honor ourselves, and we needed an audience. Okay, but on a more serious note, the real reason we are here is to really recognize the CSR warriors, as Prabhu said. I want everyone to stand up, please. Kavi leads the office. Vasudha. Padma joined the team recently. We have people in Mumbai. We have people in, we're going to hire somebody in Mumbai to work with the Mumbai corporates. Padma works with the Delhi companies. We have a person in Bangalore. Digvijay is here. Digvijay, thank you. And we're going to look at somebody in Hyderabad. So this network of people that are out there on the ground getting us these projects as your champions is the reason we are here. We are number 1 in NIRF, but we are also number 1 on many of these kinds of axes. Having a network like this is our biggest strength. I think we should thank all of them for the work they do.
Okay, for a moment I was swept away with the flow like one of the members of the audience. So I now would like to invite Ms. Vasudha Narasimhan, Vice President Corporate Partnerships at our office, to come forward and deliver the vote of thanks.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to deliver a vote of thanks to the first of its kind CSR Changemaker event that we're having. Let me promise you I'll be very quick and not come in the way of dinner. I'm sure everybody's hungry. First of all, I would like to thank our chief guest, Mr. S. Krishnan, for his valuable time and motivating the faculty and the staff and acknowledging the influence of IIt Madras. Thank you very much for your time and words. Thank you to our director, Professor Kamakoti, for his time today in felicitating the faculty and for himself being an exemplary faculty and initiating multiple CSR initiatives and setting a high standard for the other faculty. Thank you to Professor Mahesh Panchagnula, Dean ACR, for leading our team, for guiding us, also setting processes, thinking, systems, and encouraging other faculty colleagues of his in scaling up and thinking large for large CSR projects. I'd like to thank the esteemed members of the Alumni Charitable Trust, Mr. D. Chandrasekhar, Mrs. N. Alamelu, and some of the others, and the past directors for having the vision to set up the ACR office back in 2014 and be a fundraising arm of the institute. We would all not be here without that vision back then. I'd like to thank Professor Manu Santanam and in his capacity as Dean ICSR and the previous Dean ICSRs as well, and their entire teams who help us with the regulatory and statutory compliance. I know that we can be quite painful at times chasing faculty for utilization certificates, and I think ICSR does a wonderful team along with us in getting the compliance through. I'd like to thank each and every faculty member here who have worked with us on CSR projects. We know that CSR work requires additional responsibilities over and above what you do. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for setting up the standard at IIT Madras and encouraging us to do more together collaboratively. I'd also like to thank faculty members who have shared proposals with us, for whom we've not yet been able to raise funds. Thank you for your patience. I think we'll get there soon. We will work together. I'd like to thank Kaviraj Nair for leading the Office of Institutional Advancement and setting up, again, systems and standards for us to all deliver more together. And last but not the least, I'd like to thank Padma and the marketing team and the department liaison officers who've done a fabulous job of bringing together all of you today and having this wonderful evening. Thank you to all my colleagues in the Office of Institutional Advancement and the ACR office as well, especially the donor stewardship team who works very closely with the faculty and ensures that the projects are taken to completion. Thank you for all.
Thank you, Vasudha. I request all of us to rise up for the national anthem.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you, everyone, once again, for coming here and making this event a grand success. Please join us for dinner at the main dining hall.